In order to understand where the concept of fractality comes from, we have to go one step back in time. Nikola Tesla is said to have been the inventor of the 20th century, as he was responsible for discovering alternative currents of electricity and many other creations that are part of our daily life. He was interested in the ancient Vedas traditions, and this helped him to be in a unique position to understand science through Eastern and Western models. Just like the ancient Indian yogis, Tesla used the term Akasha. Tesla studied with Swami Vivekananda, a yogi who brought the ancient Indian teachings from East to West. In the Vedas, Akasha teachings is space itself, the space that the other elements fill in and that exists simultaneously with vibration. Now, to conceptualize Akasha, or the primary substance, is the idea of fractality. It was until the 80s that advances in computers allow the human being to mathematically visualize and reproduce patterns in nature. The term fractal was coined by the mathematician Benoit Maldenbrot, who studied certain simple mathematical equations that, when repeated, produce an endless series of mathematical changes and geometric forms within a limited reference of time. They are limited to a time frame, but at the same time they are infinite without it. A fractal is an approximate geometric shape that can be separated into parts, and whose parts are approximately a reduced copy of the complete figure or pattern, a property called self-similarity. Some have even called fractals the God's fingerprints. When we look at the ancient architectures, you will realize that the human being has always associated beauty and sacred with fractal patterns for a long time. Each part has the seed to recreate the whole. The fractals have changed the perspective of how the universe works. With each new increasing level, differences arise from the original. Constant change and transformation occur as we cross the levels from one fractal to the other. This transformation is the cosmic spiral, the intrinsic intelligence of the matrix space and time. So far, I hope that you realize that fractality is something that is around us, that my intention in this channel has never been to deny that it exists. In fact, here I want you to be aware that they exist beyond the financial markets, that fractality exists because force, and force causes movement, and that movement causes vibrations, and vibrations fills the space. So let's deepen more into these characteristics of fractals. They are chaotic in their essence. They contain noise and order. When our minds recognize patterns or define a pattern, we focus on it as if it were a thing. We try to find patterns that we consider or perceive as beautiful. But in order to hold them in our minds, we must push the rest of the fractal aside. To understand a fractal with the senses is to limit its movement. All the energy of the universe is neutral, timeless, and lacks dimension. Observation is an act of creation through the inherent limitations of thought. In this way, the illusion of solidity of things is created by labeling and naming them. The philosopher Kierkegaard said, "If you name me, you deny me. By giving me a name or a label, you deny the other possibilities that could also be." You classify the particle in being a thing by naming it, by specifying it, but at the same time, the one who is creating it is you. It is you who defines it and makes it to exist. In the Eastern wisdom, for thousands of years, it was known that everything is vibration, nada Brahma. The universe is sound. Nada means sound or vibration, and Brahma, universe or God. Let's talk a little bit about cymatics, which is the study of visible sound. One of the first Western scientists to study the phenomenon of vibration was Ernst Chladni. Chladni discovered that when he placed sand on metal plates and then he made the plates vibrate with a violin bow, the sand was organized into figures with patterns. Different geometric shapes appear depending on the vibration produced. Chladni recorded a catalog of many of these shapes and are known as the Chladni figures. Hans Jenny expanded Chladni's work in the 1960s using various liquids and electronic amplifications to generate sound frequencies. If simple sine waves are sent through a container with water, you can see the patterns depending on the wave frequency. Different wave patterns will appear. The higher the frequency, the more complex the pattern will be. The more it is observed, the more you begin to see how the vibration organizes. This vibration of water has a pattern similar to that of a sunflower. And just by changing the sound frequency, a different pattern is obtained. Realize then that the violin bow or sound frequency are the applied forces, and that depending on these forces, the pattern change. In trading, because of the lack of real information, you cannot really know for sure who or how much is the exact force the whole market is buying or selling. So therefore, the derived vibrations will be random, but a simple and powerful fact remains. The current price can only go up or down, regardless of the shape of the vibrations derived from that force. Trading is not disconnected from nature. Trading is part of the whole. In trading, also the force exists, the space, the distance, the speed. But realize that these characteristics that I mentioned are intangible. The space can be filled with anything. The distance can be of many different lengths. The force can be greater or less at different frequencies. It can be applied by one or by several. That's why there's no right or wrong, but indeed repetitive natural characteristics. But these characteristics are not visually repetitive like everybody teaches. That's why I want you to be aware that what appears on the chart, and that depending on the type of chart, changes all the time. And whatever form and meaning you believe you are seeing are only vibrations derived from the buying or selling force that will never be exactly the same. The visual fractality exists, as I explained, due to the vibrations that exist all around us. But the moment you are unaware of this reality and you or another individual detects a certain symmetrical vibration and then labels it, what is actually happening is that that person is giving a label or name and then meaning and therefore power to that vibration or shape, thus denying everything else that could also be. Understand that whatever vibration is derived from force is just a form that some group of people will give meaning and value, but the fact is that it is not possible to see or determine accurately from behind your computer if that force is exactly the same as another similar vibration that took place some other day in the past. You do not know the intentions of the big participants. Therefore, due to this lack of real knowledge, the human mind is pushed to label it, because it is this way that people are made to believe that certainty and fulfillment and permanence are found. Of course, that movement derived from force is fractable. But being fractal does not mean knowing what exactly the price will do in the future consistently. So labeling, giving meaning to the random vibrations to feel that you know what is going on in the market in order to take action is just an illusion. The current price, the number that is on the right side of the chart, it is the same in all time frames, all the time, regardless of the different vibrations happening in different time frames. It only goes up or only goes down due to a major bearish or bullish force, creating different random vibrations on the chart. I want you to look at the right side of the chart. You have the price 1.1788, and I have drawn these lines. One of the things that you have to notice about these lines is that if I cover the left side of the chart, you get these constant numbers. Now these are not support or resistance, although like in here the price created a resistance, here created a support, that people can call it like that because of the same ideas that they hear all the time. But this is not about support resistance, it's about a sequence. There's a video that you can see here in this channel where I explain a little bit more about these sequences, and I want you to notice that I have this chart in a 360-minute chart. So that is a 6-hour chart. Maybe you never heard of a 6-hour chart. That's the point. And for example, if I change to a 480-minute chart or a 8-hour chart, you see that I have the same exact numbers. And this is an important thing because you have heard of maybe 10-minute chart, 15-minute chart, 30-minute chart, 1-hour chart, 4-hour chart, daily chart, weekly chart. But this doesn't mean that other time frames just don't exist. And at the same time, since there are more time frames, because you can use a 20-minute chart, you can use a 40-minute chart, a 1 hour and a half chart, and so on, it means that the forms, patterns that you can find in one chart or in one time frame can exist in another or cannot exist at all in another. So if you think about it, when you're looking for forms, shapes, that is an infinite task. Therefore, another thing I want you to notice is that these prices are the same in a 5-minute chart. Now you have a 5-minute chart. As you can see, the forms can change, how quickly one candle opens and the other closes changes because of the difference of time frame, but the prices that I'm talking about are the same. If I measure this price, this current price, and go up to the price of 1.1900, as you can see on my left side of the chart is 114 pips. It's the exact same thing if I measure from a 480-minute chart and I go to the same price, 1.1900. As you can see, 114 pips. And if I go to the south, or I go to 1.1700, I have 84 pips. Let's go to a 360 time frame. Current price, we go down to the next price, which is 117. As you can see, the same distance or the same amount of pips. Now let's go further and change the type of chart. Let's go from a candlestick formation chart to a volumetric chart, and let's go to a 15-minute chart, and let's change this one to a line chart. As you can see, the vibrations change between time frames, but what is consistent is always the same, is the number, the price. Now this is important because subjectivity comes from what the mind can create, but the logical part of the brain, which is the left side only, is working when you provide them with numbers. And if I go to a different time frame, for example, go back to a 480-minute chart or an 8-hour chart, I can go to a bar chart and I have the same exact information. So this is what I want you to understand. So no matter what time frame I go to, if it's a higher time frame or a lower time frame, I have the exact same information. So if I go to a 240 or a 4-hour chart, let's understand this. Vibration is something that comes from force. Force is something that is going to be just random because it's going to be different. The motivations of the big players, the banks and institutions, plus how the retail trader are going to react, how other people are going to react, and what movement is needed or how much you need to put in there to the buy side or to the sell side. Let's say that the price is moving and it's moving this way, and then the force changes, and another day, another week, and it moves this way, and another time it moves like that, and in another occasion it moves like this. What I want you to understand is that the different vibrations derived from force and what people are going to see as information or meaning doesn't matter anymore when you understand that at the end of the day, what price is doing is just going from 122 to 123, which is the same here, 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 and here. Even though it looks different, the movement was exactly the same. It went from 122 to 123. In other words, it went from south to north, from low to up. And the most important thing is that if you change the time frame, since this side is the same information, the same movement based on just two directions that the price has, because there's no three directions. That's an illusion that people tell you, that there's three directions. There's no three directions, there's only two, one at a time. So if you are able to understand this, then even that the price is going to move in different ways all the time, and they can change and vibrate differently, you are going to be able to objectively understand that the price is only going up or is going down. There's only two things that the price can do. Doesn't matter how different it looks from one time frame to another, the price can only continue, or change. What you can see here in this chart, with nothing else but those exact prices, is that even though in this area right here where the COVID-19 happened and all these crazy months of March, April, what happened is that just volatility increased. It means that you have more magnitude of movement. See how the price just went down, continue, then change, continue, change, continue, change, continue, change, continue, change, continue, change, change. But then the price continues, changes, continues, changes, continues. And I just can't keep going, because that's exactly what price does. Just moves up or moves down. Whatever narrative you provide because of your belief, because of subjectivity, because of things that you have heard from other people, it's just that. It's a way for you to find permanence and fulfillment. But that's how emotions are built, how they are developed, because you are desperately trying to fit your ideas into something, when in reality these are just different vibrations. Why they happen the way they happen, we don't know. Nobody knows. But what we know, that price can only do two things, and the rest is just equity management. Obviously, this is an important part of the information, part of the puzzle when you understand manipulation. You hear me talking about the 4 principles. This is one: price, time, obviously probability, and manipulation. When you put all those together, then you don't need to think about anything else. You just observe objective information, manage risk, which is the only thing that you can manage, and the rest is just going to happen by itself. You don't control anything. So as you can see, price changes, continues, changes, continues, changes, continues, changes, changes, changes. So based on this latest information, the price can only do two things: changes again or continues to this price. As I said, 4 principles, that's all you need. But there's no need for you to invent, create anything in your mind. Just observe facts, numbers. Price is a number, time is a number, probabilities is a number, manipulation then becomes a number because it derives from the previous 3 principles. And this, my friend, can liberate your mind from all these beliefs and conditioned behavior that you have developed because the business is set up for you to lose money, unfortunately. You can continue trying to learn trading, testing, strategy by strategy, method after method, or you understand once and for all the principles from which all methods, strategies, systems, and indicators are derived: time, price, probability, and manipulation. If you do understand this reality, then you will realize that there is nothing else, that everything else new or flashy that you hear or look at is nothing more than another combination of invented rules to label or name some visual symmetry with fixed parameters. But basically, it is going to contain the same principles that you will understand. Imagine getting to that point, the advancement you will have on this difficult path. Once you realize that what seems different is the same, but just with different combinations, then you will be able to get rid of most of the so-called education and information that are mostly beliefs and noise, and it will put you further ahead in the long and spacious path of trading. Then, from there, with a free and clean mind, you begin to truly progress and build your skills of adaptation and risk management, which are the only 2 things that you can control, nothing more. Realize how the ideas of fractality and of finding shapes and meaning will never end, and they are perceptions that, although symmetrical and fractal, do not give you any advantage to know the future or to ensure a series of winning streaks. They are just derived forms from the force that the movement causes and that the different speed brings as vibrations that everybody will observe in a different way and will give them different values and meanings. But if you want to free yourself from that and then only trade in an objective and numerical way, find out more about our advanced training, and I'll leave you with the most recent experience of our advanced training here below in the description. And remember, trade with logos, trade with logic. See you later.